across Erin Bromage, the risks, know them, avoid them. It seems many people are breathing some relief, and I'm not sure why. An epidemic curve has a relatively predictable upslope, and once the peak is reached, the backslope can also be predicted. As states reopen and we give the virus more fuel, all bets are off. I understand the reasons for reopening the economy, but I've said before, if you don't solve the biology, the economy won't recover. And that's a point I've also been making. As a simple example of the USA trend, when you take out the data from New York and just look at the rest of the United States, daily case numbers are increasing. Bottom line, the only reason the total USA new case numbers look flat right now is because the New York City epidemic was so large and now it is being contained. We know most people get infected in their own home. A household member contracts the virus in the community and brings it into the house, where sustained contact between household members leads to infection. In order to get infected, you need to get exposed to an infectious dose of the virus. Based on infectious dose studies with MERS and SARS, it is estimated that as few as 1,000 SARS-CoV-2 viral particles are needed for an infection to take hold. Remember that, 1,000. Please note this still needs to be determined experimentally, but we can use that number to demonstrate how infection can occur. Infection could occur through 1,000 viral particles you receive in one breath or from one eye rub, or 100 viral particles inhaled with each breath over 10 breaths, or 10 viral particles with 100 breaths. A bathroom. Bathrooms have a lot of high-touch surfaces, door handles, faucets, stall doors, so fomite transfer risk in this environment can be high. We still do not know whether a person releases infectious material in feces or just fragmented virus, but we do know that toilet flushing does aerosolize many droplets. A cough, a single cough releases about 3,000 droplets. Droplets travel at 50 miles per hour. Most droplets are large and fall quickly, but many do stay in the air and can travel across a room in a few seconds. A sneeze, a single sneeze releases about 30,000 droplets, with droplets traveling at up to 200 miles per hour. Most droplets are small and travel great distances, easily across a room. If a person is infected, the droplets in a single cough or sneeze may contain as many as 200 million virus particles, which can all be dispersed into the environment around them. A breath. A single breath releases 50 to 5,000 droplets. Most of these droplets are low velocity and fall to the ground quickly. There are even fewer droplets released through nose breathing. Importantly, due to the lack of exhalation force with the breath, viral particles from the lower respiratory areas are not expelled. Unlike sneezing and coughing, which releases huge amounts of viral material, the respiratory droplets released from breathing only contain low levels of virus. If a person coughs or sneezes, those 200 million viral particles go everywhere. So if you're face to face with a person having a conversation and that person sneezes or coughs straight at you, it's pretty easy to see how it is possible to inhale 1,000 virus particles and become infected. All you have to do is enter that room within a few minutes of the cough, sneeze, and take a few breaths, and you have potentially received enough virus to establish an infection. But with general breathing, 20 copies per minute into the environment, even if every virus ended up in your lungs, you would need 1,000 copies divided by 20 copies per minute equals 50 minutes. Symptomatic people are not the only way the virus is shed. We know that at least 44% of all infections and the majority of community-acquired transmissions occur from people without any symptoms, asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic people. So just prior to symptoms showing, you're releasing the most virus into the environment. Interestingly, the data shows that just 20% of infected people are responsible for 99% of viral load that could potentially be released into the environment. When you think of outbreak clusters, what are the big ones that come to mind? Most people would go to the cruise ships, but you would be wrong. Ship outbreaks don't even land in the top 50 outbreaks to date. Ignoring the terrible outbreaks in nursing homes, we find that the biggest outbreaks are in prisons, religious ceremonies, workplaces, meat-packing facilities and call centers. Any environment that is enclosed with poor air circulation and high density of people spells trouble. Meat-packing, in meat processing plants, densely packed workers must communicate to one another amidst the deafening drum of industrial machinery and a cold room virus-preserving environment. There are now outbreaks in 115 facilities across 23 states. More than 5,000 workers are infected with 20 dead. Weddings, funerals, birthdays, 10% of early spreading events, business networking, face-to-face business networking like the Biogen conference in Boston in March. Restaurants, some really great shoe leather epidemiology demonstrated clearly the effect of a single asymptomatic carrier in a restaurant environment. The infected person A sat at a table, had dinner with 9 friends. Dinner took about 1 to 1.5 hours. During the meal, the asymptomatic carrier released low levels of virus into the air. Airflow was from right to left. Approximately 50% of the people at the infected person's table became sick over the next 7 days. 75% of the people on the adjacent downwind table became infected, and even 2 of the 7 on the upwind table were infected. Workplaces, another great example is the outbreak in a call center. A single infected employee came to work on the 11th floor of a building. The floor had 216 employees. Over the period of the week, 94 of those people became infected. 92 of those 94 people became sick. Church choir in Washington State, even though people were aware of the virus, took steps to minimize transfer. They avoided the usual handshakes and hugs hello. People also brought their own music to avoid sharing and socially distanced themselves during practice. A single asymptomatic carrier infected most of the people in attendance. The choir sang for 2.5 hours inside an enclosed church, which was roughly the size of a volleyball court. Singing to a greater degree than talking aerosolizes respiratory droplets extraordinarily well. Over a period of 4 days, 45 of the 60 choir members developed symptoms, 2 died. Members of the church became sick. This is another example of a fellow called Bob. Have a read about that. Importantly, of the countries performing contact tracing properly, only a single outbreak has been reported from an outdoor environment, less than 0.3% of traced infections. Even if they were 50 feet away, choir or call center, even a low dose of the virus in the air reaching them over a sustained period was enough to cause infection and in some cases death. The effects of sunlight, heat and humidity on viral survival all serve to minimize the risk to everyone when outside. Talking about shopping, low density, high air volume of the store, along with the restricted time you spend in the store, means that the opportunity to receive an infectious dose is low. But for the store worker, the extended time they spend in the store provides a greater opportunity to receive the infectious dose, and therefore the job becomes more risky. Fascinating article, well worth reading. As I said, the virus is not correlated to endogenous market dynamics, but is an exogenous uncertainty that remains unresolved. And in a previous article in The Intelligencer, the saliva of a COVID-19 patient can harbor 500 billion virus particles per teaspoon, and a cough aerosolizes it into a diffuse mist. Therefore, the viral rates have risen. Home Thoughts, Seoul Mayor says 85 new coronavirus cases now linked to Itaewon Club case. Next 2 or 3 days will be a critical time. If Seoul falls, the country falls. Park one soon. Via P. Hancock, CNN. This is a photograph from South Korea via RFI, Foyer de Contamination du Coronavirus à Seoul. It's kind of apocalyptic, these scenes and photographs. NHK conducted an experiment to see how germs spread at a cruise buffet. They applied fluorescent paint to the hands of one person and then had a group of 10 people dine. And look what happened, it's a video. In 30 minutes, the paint transferred to every individual and was on the faces of 3.